Danielle Stein-Fairhurst, and I founded these financial modelling meetups just over a year ago. And wow, we have grown to such a big group. It's amazing to see so many new faces and old faces, and it's just fantastic to get together. The reason that I started the meetups was because I feel like financial modelers tend to hide away behind their Excel spreadsheets. And just earlier I was messing around with Periscope. Has anyone seen Periscope before? It's a new, fairly new live feed through Twitter. And I thought I'd try it out and see how we go, and I realised, you know, as everybody was arriving, I was messing around with my phone and with technology and trying to get my microphone to work, and I was missing out on meeting with you guys and talking to people. And that was the whole point of starting these meetups, that we get away from the technology, get away from behind our desks and talk to each other and talk about the things that we really love, like Excel, like formulas, like modelling, like our careers, that kind of stuff. So that was the reason I started it, and I kind of used the LinkedIn Financial Modelling in Excel LinkedIn group as a vehicle to promote these meetup groups, because I'm based in Sydney and I run Plum Solutions, which is a financial modelling training organisation. So organisation, that sounds enormous, doesn't it? Really, it's just me. I just do. I do financial modelling training and consulting. So that is why I started, and I started this LinkedIn group in 2009. And just the other day, we hit 40,000 members, which is amazing. It's huge. Yeah, I was so excited that we hit such a great number. It's really, really good that so many people are excited about financial modelling. So this is the Melbourne Modelers Meetup Group, and Melbourne, I think, is the home of fantastic financial modelers like Lance Rubin. I'm going to let Lance introduce himself. He has got an amazing experience in financial modelling. He's worked for, his career has gone from, you know, strength to strength, all because of financial modelling, of course, and he's going to tell us exactly how he did that. He just recently, you might have seen, he just recently wrote a post on LinkedIn about why financial modelling is such an in-demand skill to have, and it went viral. Did you just say you had 1,000 views on that?
1,100.
Oh, wow, wow. So
in 2 weeks.
Yeah, gosh, that's amazing. So obviously people are very interested in financial modelling. So I'm going to hand over to Lance.
Thanks, Danielle, for the introduction. So I'm stepping a little bit out of my comfort zone coming to talk to you, because like many of you, I prefer to sit behind a spreadsheet in my laptop. For those that know me, financial modelling is more than just a passion. At times, it's an obsession, and my wife even thinks it's an addiction. Now, being addicted to financial modelling, being addicted to something like financial modelling, or anything for that matter, is not always a good thing. But when you wake up every day and the work that you do doesn't feel like real work, but more like playing a complex strategy game, that's not a bad thing. What started out to be a desire to work smarter, faster, and quicker really turned out to a career of answering some of the most complex business questions that were thrown at me. The more complex the question, the more I got out of it and the bigger the reward. At times, the answers to those questions would throw out some new questions that hadn't even been thought about. I hope tonight that you get to answer some of your career questions. At the same time, some new ones throw up that you hadn't thought about before. I was first exposed to spreadsheets in 1985. My father brought home a portable computer the size of a suitcase. And he's working on the small green screen with numbers down the left and the alphabet along the top. But I was more preoccupied with Dig Dug and Space Invaders that I loaded on a floppy disk drive on DOS than I was on that green screen of his. He did spend a lot of time, and it was only many years later that I realised what he was doing. I was more formally introduced to financial modelling and spreadsheets when I joined PwC in 1989 through Lotus 123 and Excel. Thankfully, spreadsheets became a lot prettier by that stage. I was running it on a Windows 95 laptop. So basically, from that day on, I started doing some training. We went on some basic, intermediate, and advanced Excel training. But the time I was finished with PwC, which was some 6 years later, I was probably at best at intermediate level. I was using basic mathematical formulas, some sum, and lookups. I thought VLOOKUP was the best formula ever written. Hands up who says yes. A few of you, okay. Little did I know, it was only when I joined Investec Bank Corporate Finance and M&A team that I realized that my financial modeling and Excel skills had to go to a whole new level. Suddenly that VLOOKUP formula wasn't so great. It was inflexible, it wasn't dynamic, and at times it even had errors. Counting columns was painful. So I found index and match and started using that. I also discovered the MOD formula for quarterly distributions and functions like goal-seek, and then VBA for reverse engineering and automation. But really my biggest discovery at all was the shortcut keys. Oh my God, what a great thing to have invented. And for those that are using the mouse, seriously, you've got to try your shortcut keys. It's like sitting on the couch when you're watching the TV and having to change the volume or the channel, and you've got to get up before they invented remotes. There's probably some of you in this audience that haven't experienced that, and it's pretty boring. So I started modeling every single day, and my mouse was really holding me up. So I got given the advice, start using shortcut keys. Very soon I started using Control-Shift+, Control-, Control-R, Control-D, Control page up, Control page down. And all of these started helping me navigate through a spreadsheet really quickly. Initially the mouse click felt quicker, but over time it actually helped using the shortcut keys. Everyone knows Control-C and Control-V, but that's really just the very small tip of the very big iceberg. So I started modeling across multiple industries like property and hospitality, double and triple staple trusts, multi-currency, and a myriad of complex scenarios. And the more complex it was, the better it became. It's only when you get to this sort of modeling that you know you're up for a test to test your financial modeling prowess, when your model is going to be audited by a Big Four accounting firm. A test to see whether you can keep the model audit costs down by reducing the number of unique formulae, to make sure that the review of the model doesn't suddenly get caught in this convoluted spiderweb matrix of hard-coded numbers and just gets lost. Really, you have to develop the sort of skills that require you to manage and make the model flexible. But tonight is not about me, really. It's really about the process that I went through and to help you try and manage your careers and use financial modeling to expand yourself and identify opportunities that you see in evolving out there. Financial modeling skills, as I wrote in the LinkedIn post, is becoming an increasingly bigger demand in today's world. To become a better financial modeler than what you are today, or a financial analyst, really requires you to change. But change is not easy. You have to really make the decision whether you're going to take that and expand your skills and learn something new. Sadly, your employer's not going to do that for you. And only you're going to know whether that's something that you're really passionate about and want to give a go. It's not going to be easy day one, but really you have to drive that. Unfortunately, you're also holding yourself back from that same change. So you also can't spend too long thinking about change. You've really got to just dive in and give it a go and muddle your way through it. It's not going to be perfect day one, but really it's that process of really understanding and churning through the problems and problem solving that you get to learn the most. The other thing that is important about developing your career and changing is networking. Like coming here tonight is a great start. Understanding that there's a broader community out there that can help you with your change. Not only physical network, but you've also got an online network. Google and YouTube is a great resource if you want to try and solve a problem in Excel. Rather than trying to solve it yourself, there's bound to be someone somewhere in the world that's not only solved the problem, but put a YouTube clip on it and written a whole post on it. So you might as well use that. Remember, practice by doing, and that's important. The other key aspect is really your career, not your job. Jobs come and go, but your career stays with you. So you have to nurture it to make sure that it's going to be there when you need it most. The other aspect of your job is really to look at the people that are in that job with you. Are they the type of people that are going to push you and challenge you, or they're going to type of people that are going to hold you back. Because the people that hold you back are more worried that you'll be successful. So look out for that. Alrighty, so let's say you decide that financial modelling is actually going to be a core component of your career. And like me, you're going to use it to assess all current and future job opportunities. It's important to understand that financial modelling is not just Excel. It's much broader than that. Really, financial modelling is the combination of both art and science, and the ability to really synthesize and understand information and problem solve with out-of-the-box thinking. It also requires you to build a robust model and a well-structured spreadsheet, not just the actual formulas within that. Finding a solution in a sea of uncertainty is not always easy, but being able to iteratively change that as you go along is critical. As accountants and auditors, we're often fixated about precision, but with financial modelling, there's a fair degree of greyness that comes into play. And the way that you deal with that greyness says more about your ability to change the way that you think than the way that you use Excel or the way that you apply accounting standards. I've tried to break down financial modelling skills into 4 core competencies. And once again, I say it's not just about Excel, because often everyone says, oh, it's just all about Excel. Yes, Excel will help you, but that's the platform and the tool. There are many other platforms and tools out there as well. Having a laser-sharp understanding of accounting and finance is critical, even down to the debits and credits at times. Everyone wants to model future cash, but how do you know that your cash is correct if you don't have a balanced 3-way model? If you don't understand that your debits and credits have to go both ways, not just having one-sided. Dealing with multi-currency and foreign currency translation reserve is not straightforward. Having a thorough understanding of the accounting standards and how you deal with multiple currencies is important to ensuring that not only getting the right answer, but you maintain that balanced balance sheet and manage your foreign exchange risk sensitivity through your model. I come back to Excel. You do need to develop an expert knowledge of Excel and how to build a robust model. It's important, and sometimes even more important than just knowing the accounting rules. Making sure that your model is well laid out to ensure that it's flexible. Hard-coded numbers in formulas is a no-no. There's so many times that I see this across the finance industry. And the first thing you say, well, why? Firstly, it renders the model potentially inaccurate and error-prone, and you cannot run sensitivities and scenarios through it if you have hard-coded numbers. Also, if you want to expand the model into future periods, if your formulas aren't consistent horizontally, you will not be able to do this. Now, there are a few known modeling methodologies out there which, if you're not familiar with them, you should start. Best practice modeling, fast and smart. These all try to achieve the same thing in terms of helping you understand how to build a robust model. Really, what they're trying to aim is for simplicity, transparency, accuracy, and flexibility. So get to know them and start trying to build a model using these methodologies. Start building a reasonably solid understanding of particular businesses and their underlying logic is important. Many different industries and even different companies within the same industry apply things differently. They've got different strategies and they've got different agreements with different companies. Recently, I had a client that wanted to forecast their revenue based on IRR. For those of you that know IRR, it's actually a method by which you take future cash flows, discount them to the present value, and derive the return. They wanted it the other way around. They were going to give me the return, and they wanted me to project the forward cash flows. They then wanted, of course, for me to split the cash flows into interest and principal, flowing the principal through the balance sheet and the interest through the P&L. And the meeting started off, we just want a simple model. So some 108 reverse-engineered goal-seek macros later, I created the model and showed the client. Unfortunately, it was still inaccurate. My first month of forecast was at least 20% out of the recent month. So there had to be something else. And the client said, oh, we forgot to tell you we have a structured interest rate and a structured payment profile. I said, well, that would have been good before I started building. So fortunately, I was able to put an adjustment curve into that calculation and got within 2% of the previous month, which was a lot better. Just remember, it's a forecast. It's never going to be 100% accurate, but you've got to get closer. And that's the grayness that I was referring to. Being able to succinctly and clearly articulate your findings is really the work of all your output. So don't underestimate or ignore that important part. If you cannot articulate in a crisp message that is on point to people, not only have you wasted people's time, but you've lost credibility. Be ready to justify the answers that come out of your model, even at a high level, and also articulate what are the major drivers that's driving the model and what happens if those drivers change. Unfortunately, your work is not done until they get it. So I've made a big assumption here, and that is that in fact you do want to change, you do want to learn some new skills and expand. I mean, I guess that's why you're here tonight. But let's say for argument's sake, you believe that your Excel skills are really as good as they're going to be. You're not going to spend a whole lot of time, or you have colleagues and friends that believe that there's not much time, there's not much benefit putting time into learning a skill on financial modeling. Well, unfortunately, I have some bad news for you and some food for thought. The machines are coming. I don't mean to sensationalize Terminator or The Matrix, but you just have to think about the words like artificial intelligence, Watson, cognitive computing, machine learning, and of course quantum computing. If you read the 3 quotes on the screen, you'll see that this isn't something that's going to happen, but it's something that's happening today. With applications like Xero and cloud-based accounting, there's an entire ecosystem of apps that are completely removing the need for spreadsheets and also putting bookkeepers that are used to recording information on paper near extinction. But this sort of evidence was never as clear to me than when I first met Banjo, a fintech startup in the marketplace lending. I met them as a financial modeling consultant. Their entire business had been automated and built. They'd been effectively running for 4 months without a CFO or a finance function. They had automated their front-to-back processing all through Xero. They had everything reconciled, and their board reporting came straight out of Xero. They really didn't need a production house to pump out management reporting. But fortunately for me, they needed some cash flow modeling, they needed some valuations, as well as some dynamic decision-making tools to really understand their strategy and how they tilt and evolve in a rapidly changing environment. So I was fortunate enough to take on a CFO role within that business. All that was left was for me to build a 3-way model which was rolling every single month off Xero with outputs for both the fund and the fund manager. As a lean startup, they really cannot afford to carry the costs of a finance function. When I joined as CFO, I was not told to hire anyone. So there are dozens of people that used to work in my previous employer who supported the business lending portfolio within the finance function. Not one of those people had ever built a 3-way model, and the business was suffering from a lack of insight into margin erosion. This was well known by the market and equity analysts, and the share price fell as a result. So over time, I see large finance teams continuing to shrink as automation and offshoring will grow, and generations of new companies like Banjo will emerge, and a new generation of financial professional who is less connected with the process and production in finance, but more focused on strategic modeling and decision-making. This is why I see the demand for financial modeling increasingly significant for quite some time, and the preparation of management reporting and statutory reporting becomes redundant. So feel free to go on as you are today, but don't say that someone didn't warn you. Now, when I refer to financial modeling, there's actually many different roles and different skills and activities that you can do within an organization. So don't feel like the world's coming to an end just yet. I've attempted to break this up into 4 main areas and spectrums to help you find your career path and where you might want to focus your next role. The accountant and auditor. As I mentioned before, there are aspects in financial modeling and auditing and of checking models, performing analytical review and reasonableness testing. This is a great place to start and gain professional experience. These roles are typically found in large accounting firms. It's where I started, so I'm a bit biased, unfortunately. The finance partner or divisional CFO. This is typically found within finance teams of large corporates and outside of the professional services. The roles are typically linked to management reporting, FP&A, and at times statutory reporting. It's within these roles that I see the most disruption and potential large changes where the operations and production of finance is automated. There are certainly elements of modelling within this team in regards to forecasting and budgeting, but typically that's only done on a periodic basis, either quarterly or annually, and not something that's part of the core competencies of the team and on a monthly basis. The next is the specialist modeler. This is probably the area where you will get the best modeling experience and will set you apart from the previous two areas. These roles are often fairly intense, and if you're a transactional modeler, or highly quantitative in terms of financial markets, credit modeling, economic modeling, market risk, or an actuary. The skills that you develop in one of these roles is really the key stepping stone to become a well-rounded consultant or advisor. The fourth area is really the financial modeling consultant. This area is typically classified as someone who's spent time in one of the other three quadrants. It's difficult to jump straight into this area unless you join one of the big four accounting firms' business and financial modeling team. The primary purpose of this team is to build models across multiple industries, transactions, and clients. It's in this area that you will find the most opportunity to learn financial modeling across multiple industries. If this is an area that you're interested in, have a chat to some of the KPMG team who are here tonight. They're always on the lookout for some keen modelers. But before you decide to jump out straight into one of these four quadrants and quit your job today, I have some practical steps you can take without causing too many seismic shifts in your personal life. The first one, go on a training course. If it's been a while since you've done financial modeling or got exposure to financial modeling or Excel, perhaps it's time to spend some money or get your employer to spend some money on financial modeling and training. At my previous employer, I ran internal financial modeling training, and this was a great success. But with Danielle here tonight, I'm sure she can set you up with something or talk to your employer about running some courses internally. Try some past questions or even attempt to join the competition of Model Off, the World Financial Modeling Championships. I recently built 2 solutions for past questions, snakes and ladders and precise debt modeling, and found them not only enjoyable but challenging. I didn't put myself under competition conditions, but nonetheless it was useful for me to revisit data tables, which I hadn't used for a while. We're fortunate enough tonight to have John Lim here tonight, who was a top 16 finalist in Model Off. If you want to find out more about Model Off, certainly try grab him. John's sitting at the back on the left drinking, just in case you're not sure. Or join the upcoming Model Off global training camps where you can do some workshops with some of the best. Now, there's no excuse in today's times not to be able to find a solution to your Excel problems or questions. As I said before, I use Google and YouTube. I also follow Chandu. There's lots of information on Twitter. And of course, there's heaps of free software and people that give you free tips online. Don't just sit and do the same Excel task month in and month out, the same way you've always done it. Try a new formula. Maybe it's time to get rid of the VLOOKUP formula and try and index match. Try some VBA, recording and editing, to automate your life. And with that spare time, you may be able to invest in your career and consider where you're going to go next. The next one is lose the mouse and learn those shortcut keys. Start with the simple ones first, and as you progressively get more and more quicker, you will be able to find out more. And remember, push that Alt key and you open the stairway to shortcut heaven. Practice, practice, practice. I cannot emphasize this point enough. Build a model using one of the aforementioned modeling methodologies is a great way to start. But like everything in life, if you don't practice or put an effort in, you won't get anything out. So if you don't do any of the 4 that I've mentioned, perhaps you should think about this. There's no magic pill, blue or red. There's no magic training course, although there's some great training courses to get you started. And unfortunately, there's no matrix to plug your cranium in to suddenly learn financial modelling. You've only got yourself to blame. So don't sit around wondering. Jump in and give it a go. Thank you.
I might just start off the questions. So we've got a few minutes left
Sure.
for questions. So you have, I don't know how you have time for anything, because you do some work for KPMG, you work for Banjo, and you take on other clients as well. So you've used financial modelling as a stepping stone in your, that's the keystone of your career, and it's what you do, and it's opened a lot of doors for you, hasn't it?
Yes. And someone actually asked me, I was talking to Lee earlier about, you doing three things and all the rest, but I don't see it as three things. I see it as one thing called financial modelling. They just happen to be three clients, right? The one client is permanent, which is not a bad thing. The other client is quite volatile, in terms of deal flow and working with John, which is great to have that opportunity. And the other part is building a business for myself, and I see the opportunity to build and help people out of the trenches in production of finance, really operationalize and understand that financial modelling can help evolve your careers and help the business that you support make better decisions.